Members Monday, how are you? Especially Chris, Tiger Spreadsheets, how are you doing? This is my attempt at Members Monday homework 37. This is Jasmine. Hi, nice to meet everyone. My thought on this, let's say you've got this set up the way you want to. You have your underlying data, nothing's new. You just want to add an additional column this period, and over here another one. You're adding an additional column. The idea is clear data, go under the output tab. This is the unscrubbed underline tab. The user is plugging in under column D, this bright yellow over here, which columns they want to pull in from underline. Again, this is underline. This is unscrubbed data. So if the user wants to add additional columns, they'll add them here, or they'll just copy paste over this entire thing every time there's new information. And I'll go through some of the adjustments that need to be made. This is the original unscrubbed data through column 14 or column N. User activates, I want these, I don't want these, and clicks copy paste. And then you can see under the output file, these have copied and pasted over. The last column is how often do you exercise? Let me now add, do you drive? I'll clear the data. The idea is the data would need to be cleared every time before doing another reset and a copy paste. So here's copy paste, and you can see how often do you drive has been added to the data set. You could also remove information. So here, let me fill handle down. These are formulas I've automated, and I'll get into how I use the indirect. I'm sure members Monday already know how to. And the reason I use the indirect is because if you just reference column and then over here where the G is, if I just reference B19, for instance, without using the indirect, it would just pull in column 2. You see? So it needs to know it's referencing. Here's how it would do a row over here. It needs to think it's a letter. And the way to trick it to think it's the actual value or the letter in the cell is to do an indirect. Otherwise, it just thinks it's in the cell. So this is the formula I've used. Basically, when you click, when the user activates retain here, it knows to populate a column number, and then this number is what drives the copy and paste formula. Pay these no mind. I didn't use them. I actually just used this as active or not active, and the entire loop goes all the way through here. So it loops through every single one of these cells and does something if there's a number. It captures these column numbers. And this needs, over here at M1, the 13, counts the max number of loops that I want the VBA code to run, to process. I'm going to get into the developer tab now in macros. I'll clean this up before submitting. Copy paste is my macro to do the copy paste step into. Just to show you my logic over here is I'm pulling in from M10, that's the 13. I am setting an upper limit, so I wanted to take the minimum of 1,000 or A. A is the value over there. Let's say I get a value that's really high or unreasonable. The reason I put this upper limit is because I didn't want something unusual happening, and I was worried if that cell is deleted, what would happen. But actually, if the cell's deleted, you would just have the minimum of 0 or 1,000. In this case, it's a minimum of 13 rows or instances or 1,000. Here, I'm doing a dynamic range to capture the underlying database. I am assuming that at least the first column of the underlying tab, this here, at least here, you're not skipping any records. There's no skipped information. So this is really how I'm capturing the end of the data set over here, this column, and I'm using the headers. Let me go back up here to capture the headers. So now if I run this again, you will see that my columns will go up to P. And the idea is if there's any additional columns, the user grabs the headers, Control-C, goes under Input, right-click, Paste Special, Transpose, click OK, and then they fill in O, P. This actually is a bit of a pain. You need to convert numbers to letters afterwards. Use address maybe. Address, row 1, and column number here. We'll do 17. Let's see if this works. And we could probably obtain the letters this way. And do a right, left, that kind of thing. Otherwise, they need to manually plug in these letters, because if I try to, let's say I try to autofill here, it repeats at the beginning. It doesn't continue autofilling. It's kind of weird. I wasn't expecting that. I don't know if this is new or what the deal is, but then the user would need to make an adjustment here with the list. And it's worth noting that the user would need to go under column B, add these additional columns over here, new profession, new degree. Take this all the way down and go to data, the data tab up here, data validation. Data validation, you need to add this new information. Do you want to extend the data validation to the cells? You're going to click yes and click OK. And this now extended the data validation to the cells. I'm going to retain O and P, clear data from the output tab after closing script. Clear the data, do a copy paste, and you can see new profession is pasted over here. And again, I just wanted to pull in the reference, the first name, the full name, and new profession, but there's no data. First name, full name, new profession. First name, full name, new profession. And the reason for that is because I do capture the data set via the columns, and assuming that there's no gaps in the reference number, call this the unique identifier, the cross-reference number, which I visualize in every table. For instance, Nikki had a project that she was speaking about, and to me, I think it's totally possible as long as the item number or reference number, whatever this number is across all these different worksheets and databases or workbooks, is the same number. Then you could reference whatever you want to, as long as this number is the same all throughout. sometimes you may need to cross-reference the reference number, which is also possible, but these numbers only to put, and then you can go copy-paste any column you want from these worksheets using something similar to this. I don't know if you wanted to take a look at this. Anyway, this is my script to do the copy and pasting. And I'm using a for loop over here. This upper limit would just be pulling in from column 13 and count that. As you can see right now, this is changed. Column M1, sorry, this is changed because I'm counting the number of column letters. But the user does need to go plug that in themselves. That's the thing. This can be automated too. We could just do setup. So there would be a setup button, a clear data button, a copy paste, or you could have 1, 2, 3, and then have one button run all 3 macros, which is one of the best ideas I've seen. And I saw this at work, and I was very impressed. It changed my perspective of VBA and macros entirely, and I saw the power in VBA, especially for analytics. If your eyes are drained because you're like so buried just copying and pasting data, and when your system's slow, when it's 10 in the evening or 2 in the morning, I mean, you don't know until you're in it what a good idea this is. It's so simple, but it's such a good idea. Like, you have your buttons and then have one button ultimately run all the steps for you. And that's it. This is my script. I hope you guys like it. That's the upper limit that drives the number of loops, so I'm not like extra looping. And what you see over here is basically doing this. It's going under column number and saying, is there a number? If there is, capture it, and then go over to underline, find it, which is 1, 2, or 1, 2 rather, copy it, and then come over to output, paste it. And then it says, go next. Is there a number? Oh, there is. Then go under, underline, and find 1, 2, 3, copy it, go under output, go 1 over, and paste it. And then it's saying, is there a number here? There's not. Then skip. Is there a number here? Oh, there is. Go under, underline, and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Copy it, go over here, 1, 2, 3. And maybe it is worth it to show you how I did go under output. This is the logic I used, where if you're within your first, I start my loops with zeros, by the way. So I start with 0 and I then go 0, 1, 2, 3, and I force a 0 because if I'm at the first step at the reference number and there's nothing at A1 in the output tab, then I want you to give me 0 column. Otherwise, I start increasing the column. This is where I start increasing the next column, the next column, the next column. So this is a loop within a loop that's a lot cleaner than my first script I ever did. And I hope you like the approach I took. And that's it for me. I know, Chris, you said you want to maybe have me come on the live stream. I would love to. I'd be happy to do it. But I think first it would just be easier to meet everybody else, or maybe meet people like this by voice, and then eventually I'll get on the stream and I'll ask you, I'll have a project. I have something in mind that I want to build, and I would like to maybe propose this project and see if you guys want to help me with it. But I really would like to. This isn't really an application, but the stopwatch one, I would love to turn the stopwatch one, which is what we did for Members Monday 36 homework, and we reviewed those. What I would love to do is take that application and be able to build it where the end user can run that on a cell phone, like actually run that on an actual application, on a cellular phone. So that would be something really cool to do. Okay, you guys, I hope you like the way I approach this, and I'm looking forward to seeing the way you approach the same assignment. And I'll meet you one of these days on the live streams. Okay, bye bye. Ciao, ciao.